Welcome to Women Mastering Midlife, where we dive deep into the rich complexities of womanhood in our middle years. I'm your host, Victoria Bird, a pharmacist, certified women's health coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, thriving in menopause, or mastering midlife's many transitions, this is your weekly dose of expert guidance, compassionate support, and a judgment-free space to explore it all. Here, we're empowering women to master midlife on their terms, reclaiming our health, our happiness, and our power. Together, we'll rewrite the narrative around this remarkable stage of life, from something to dread into a beautiful, bold transition. I'm so glad you're here. I'm honored to welcome Dr. Marina Yuabova, a distinguished expert in metabolic medicine, clinician, educator, and thought leader in the field of peptide therapies beyond GLP-1s. With extensive clinical experience, Dr. Yuabova is recognized for translating the science of metabolism, weight regulation, and hormones into practical, evidence-based strategies that empower patients, especially women in midlife, to understand their bodies, make informed decisions, and reclaim their health and their well-being. Her work bridges cutting-edge research with compassionate clinical care. She brings clarity to complex topics such as appetite regulation, hormonal shifts during perimenopause and menopause, metabolic risk, and how innovations like peptide therapies can be integrated into holistic wellness plans. Whether you've been hearing buzz about medications like Ozempic or Wegovy, are curious about other peptides, or want to understand how changing hormones may affect your metabolism, Dr. Yuabova is uniquely positioned to help us get grounded in what we truly need to know. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Dr. Yuabova, can you please share your background and what drew you into the field of peptides and GLP-1 therapies?
So being in medicine for over 20 years, I understood that the Western medicine model really doesn't cut it anymore. It's a lots of symptom approach, like symptom management approach. If you're looking at patients with diabetes, yes, we put them on diabetic medication, but they still die of diabetic complications. So where does diabetes go? It goes nowhere. It just silently does what it does. There are problems, cardiovascular disease, there's neurological damage to kidneys, and it's still happening. So it made me look into things a little bit differently, look at functional medicine and what that has to offer. Peptides, wonderful medicine if you use it right, for right patient with right approach, that we can actually regulate physiology and reverse aging. And that's how I came across to this. It's very different. Understanding of physiology is different. It's not your usual and very fragmented like approach as we have in Western medicine. GYN is separately, gastroenterologist is separately, nobody really knows nutrition. It doesn't really work because you have to start with nutrition, number one. Lifestyle modifications. How can we improve our physiology as naturally as possible, if it is at all possible? How do we address and understand hormones and hormonal changes, especially we know for women in midlife, lots of changes we go through, a lot. Like men don't go through these changes, but women do go through these changes. Of course, we also carry children. We carry children to term, hopefully 9 months, it's work as well. So we wear out. So what can we do to make us last longer and also not to age so quickly? So how is that done? How can we keep body functioning at the best way possible without doing anything drastic? Is it even possible? Of course it's possible, and there are all different ways to do this, and peptides my go-to. After nutrition, after understanding physiology of the patient, and everybody is very different. We don't have cookie cutting approach. It's not your take this and it's going to work for you this way and that's how you get the best results because I did it for 50 more patients. No, it's the patient's physiology. What do they need? What they're lacking in? Are there any nutritional deficiencies? Are they toxic? Are they able to detoxify? Are they able to absorb nutrition from food? Like, it's a lot of different aspects that have to happen for proper approach to take place. And definitely people come through with all different conditions. And once you have this specific understanding, we can guide people through great place. of where they feel like they were 15, 20 years ago. Energy, they look better, they sleep so much better, sex lives are so much better. Now, who doesn't want that, right?
Yeah,
We're talking
exactly.
about anti-aging. They want to remain young, looking young. When we're speaking about surgeries, especially plastic surgeries to make somebody look young, nobody's talking to patients. How do we make them feel young? Because it starts from inside out. It's not outside in, it's inside out. And I tell my patients, yes, you have this facelift, for example. Nobody took into consideration what your deficits are. So you're still deficient. Your face is beautiful, but you're deficient. Knowing how deficient you are, your amount of collagen you're going to produce, it's going to change. So you're going to wear out the effects of your facelift within 5 years. Do you want to have another one in 5 years? Don't we want to make it last so much longer? Or maybe even halt an aging process so you don't age as fast?
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the reasons why when I was thinking about going back to work, working as a pharmacist felt more like a Band-Aid than a solution. And so learning more about integrative wellness and nutrition and functional medicine has really changed my approach. So I appreciate that that's the approach you take with your patients. And it's true, we aren't cookie cutter. And I feel like the algorithms of treatment in Western medicine, you're correct. You follow a flow chart and not everyone fits inside the flow chart.
Exactly. And that's why it is very individualized. We want good results. A patient is an individual with its own story, whatever that story of that person is. And most of the time when people come to me, it's very interesting. What I hear lately, mid-age women and middle age struggle with the same thing. Nobody has enough energy anymore. Mm-hmm. The question is, are we not producing this energy anymore? Or maybe demand is so high. What is it?
Yeah. Seriously. That's a chicken or the egg conversation for sure. So for women in midlife, we're talking about GLP-1s and peptides today. And there's a lot of buzz around some of the GLP-1s like Ozempic and Wegovy. But there are other ones as well. Can you kind of explain to the audience how they work in the body?
Absolutely. First, I would like to start explaining what are the peptides. Peptides are the chain of amino acids. They could be longer, could be shorter, that's signaling the body to do certain job. That's all it is. It's basically your flicker on and off. And peptides, they really don't last for such a long period of time. The only ones that last for such a long period of time, it's GLP-1s, because they work for entire week. You inject them one time and they're lasting. That's why the adverse effects, if they're there, you have these adverse effects for a very long time. And adverse effects of these peptides, I know we're going to cover it later, so might as well cover it now. It's nausea, vomiting, constipation. For prolonged use, it could be bone mass loss, and it is muscle mass loss. It's these kind of effects if you're not using it properly. Everybody's crazy about these peptides. I understand. We need to understand, why do we need to use them in the first place? Mm-hmm. What is the need? Why everybody now wants to use these instead of looking at a different perspective and understanding, why do we need to use them? So if you look at female physiology, what happens in midlife? We change our hormones, right? So estrogen, progesterone, we stop making enough estrogen. We stop making, firstly, the progesterone that drops, and then we become estrogen dominant, right? So what needs to happen with all of this dysregulation? Then cortisol rises. So once cortisol rises, and then we have all different shifts, like women gain weight on their midsection, I could look at the woman without doing blood work and already know what's happening, because we have all different body types, and looking at the body type, you can understand what's happening. Also looking at the skin, is skin thick, is skin thin, the eyes, the color of the eyes make the difference. Lighter the eyes, less collagen they produce. It's just, it comes with, it's a package, right? So when cortisol rises, also insulin resistance rises. Women become more insulin resistant. So yes, using GLP-1 agonist would do the great job, because you're reducing insulin resistance. But what about the hormones that's necessary? You didn't do any of that, right? We didn't give patients progesterone to protect their uterus. We just gave GLP-1 to control the insulin, blood sugar, and the appetite. And yes, I agree, medication is necessary when it's necessary. And peptides are medicinal, they're medications. For right patient, right peptide, great effect. Peptide for proper amount of time over length. First, you started with GLP-1s, it was said that you need to use it for 6 months. Then it stated, well, 6 months it's not, now you have to use it for the rest of your life. And now we have all of these adverse effects. If we look at the individual, we need to understand, and this individual states, I'm gaining weight. For example, no matter what I do, I cannot lose that weight. I'm always hungry, so we need to understand why body is doing it. Everybody now, United States, everybody's hungry. No matter what you eat, you're always hungry. You never get full. So think about it. Why body is constantly chasing the food? Because what we are now receiving, it's not nutritionally dense. It's nutritionally deficient. So body is not getting nutrition. But when we put people on GLP-1s, we don't fix the deficit. We just get more deficit. We create more deficit. When I talk to patients, like, you're already deficient, you want more deficit?
Yeah.
That's not the right way to do this. And that's why now we have people that use these peptides have issues because primary deficit never was addressed. Mm-hmm. Yes, with somebody who's insulin resistant, you give them GLP-1s, resistance reduces, but we never address the base need of nutrition because people stop being hungry and they eat very little. I understand. We're looking at the food now more like an enemy. We're eating too much and we're gaining weight, understanding why we're eating too much because there is no nutrition, people need to supplement. That's a new reality of life now. Everybody must supplement. Children, adults, everybody needs to supplement. We need to understand first what they're deficient in and give them proper supplementation. Then we'll understand that body actually can utilize nutrition. And then this hunger stops. Because now cells are fuller. They're not as hungry. So they're not constantly chasing food. So appetite reduces. I work with patients and they all tell me, like, no matter what I eat, I have this, what they call it, food talk or food chatter. It's constantly this feeling if you want to eat.
Food noise, I think, is something like that. Yeah.
They all call it different, like food talk,
yeah.
food noise. Yeah. And when I work with them, if I don't believe that they will benefit from GLP-1, if they benefit, absolutely. If I have somebody already very severe diabetic, this cardiovascular disease, very high cholesterol, of course, GLP-1. And again, for how long? For a lifetime? No. For a certain period of time and microdosing it, very small doses, much below what is recommended. Why? Firstly, I want to, reduce insulin resistance. I do. I want to reduce cardiovascular disease, but I also want to address their deficits because I want the cells to work and I don't want them to have adverse effects. So another adverse effect of GLP-1 is gastroparesis. What it means is the entire digestive tract stops moving. Mm-hmm. So for certain patients who have already constipation as a history, that's not a medication. Well, now everybody's on it, like right and left. People come, can you give it to me? It's for right people.
Yeah.
And again, anybody who's considering should be very careful and should be using, because this is medication. Also, we don't know what happens to those people once they are on this medication for a long period of time. Then what? How do you get off of it? How do you safely wean you off of it since you were on it for such a long period of time? There are a large array of peptides. I absolutely love peptides. I love biohacking, love altering physiology as natural as possible so we can preserve that health. There is sermorelin, ipamorelin, CGC 1295, it's combinations, BPC 157, thymosin alpha, thymosin beta. There is now thymosin beta with BPC 157 combination. There are peptides to modulate immune response. There are peptides to feed the cell so there is more ATP production. There's so many. all this ipamorelin, sermorelin, CJC 1295, ipamorelin, and all of those peptides to release your own growth hormone. Like if people still have ability to release it, that's what you use it for. Anybody with chronic disease that comes to me, firstly, I see if they can get these peptides because I want them to heal. One reason why people not healing, it's not proper release of growth hormone. Because if you compare our physiology and physiology of young children, the growth hormone is 500s to 800s. Any middle-aged woman that comes to me, I check them for growth hormone. If she's in 150 range, she's lucky. So that already explains why certain people do not heal. They have chronic conditions and they simply don't heal. So if you take somebody like that on GLP-1, she's not going to benefit. She's simply going to break because she's already not functioning, not proper nutrition, deficits in nutrition, and then you create more deficit. So who are we helping, really? So to me, in functional medicine approach, proper product, proper peptide to proper patient, understanding what kind of outcome we want to receive. This is very specific type of way of understanding physiology and what are we chasing?
Yeah. I think I remember when they first came out, I was at an Orange Theory class, which is like high intensity interval training and weightlifting. And there was a woman saying that she was getting Ozempic from somewhere. It wasn't her doctor. It was someplace that she found. And she said that she wanted to lose these 15 pounds. And I asked her, have you looked at the side effects? Do you have a nutrition plan in place? Are you going to make sure you're eating enough protein? You're eating enough fiber? You're eating enough dense nutrients? Like, are you getting your vegetables in? And she's like, well, I've heard it just kills my appetite. And I was like, yeah, but if you're not addressing the nutrition, then you're going to have an issue. And you're lifting weights and you're exercising to gain muscle mass, but then you're not addressing that there's potential muscle loss with the GLP-1. And you're not looking at nutrition. So it is very scary if you're not getting it from the right person. If you go to the proper clinic and they say this isn't for you, there's probably a reason.
Of course, absolutely. So firstly, it's very specific nodular carcinoma. If somebody has nodular carcinoma of thyroid or not, it's not candidate for this medication at all. A lot of times patients don't even release the information to you. So we have to be very careful how to ask this question. So you get proper history because you don't want to make anybody sick, right? We're in healthcare because we want to help people, not because we want to make them sick. Also educating the population. Why are we doing and what are we actually, what is the goal? So it is very interesting topic. And of course, I understand people want shortcuts, but finding shortcuts doesn't mean you're always going to benefit from outcome. Mm-hmm. You know, everything should be weighed through. It should be thought through and it should be done properly. Shortcuts with somebody else's health, life, there are no shortcuts. So we start with very specific functional testing in order to understand how people physiologically, what their state of physiology, to understand the problem. So you said about this woman, you ask her a very specific question, if she has a proper plan. Like she was not educated, obviously, right? She doesn't know. And that's not her fault. It's the fault of a provider to explain it to her. So if she wants to lift weights, think about it. She wants to lose weight. I get it. She's on GLP-1. She's not taking proper nutrition. She's not using proteins properly as she should for the exercise regimen and for her height and weight. Correct? Now she's lifting weight. What do you think happens? So her body, for her core health, for her heart, lungs, stomach to work, because these organs still working. No matter what, you're eating, you're not, your heart is beating, the lungs inhaling, they're also exhaling, they also exchange of blood happening. For all of that, we need energy. And now she's exercising. Wonderful. So what's happening? She's basically using her own muscle mass for her core to work. Mm-hmm. So again, deficit on top of a deficit. What's the adverse effect? Of course, now people coming with a problem that they're losing bone mass because they're wasting all this calcium for this cell function. Because body wants to preserve itself, nothing to take it from. It's going to take from your own bones to use the minerals.
Yeah.
So
And
people
it's
need
not
to be
gonna be-
educated.
Yeah. It's not the energy from fat stores that come first. It's the energy from muscle because
Exactly.
it takes,
Fat stores is difficult to break down. It's
Yeah.
difficult to break down. So that's going to be left for later. Firstly, there's a saying, we call them skinny fats. People are thin, but there is no muscle mass. It's just the adipose tissue. And again, body does not utilize it for energy. Not that easy. You need to have specific pathways and activate pathways. So the fat is used for energy, not the muscle. Muscle is easy to use for energy because it's easily available. It's a fuel. So then muscle uses a fuel.
Are you ready to finally get personalized support for your midlife health without committing to a long program? With my new one-on-one coaching model, you'll start with a single 50-minute deep dive session where we review your full health history, lifestyle, and current concerns. Together, we'll create a plan designed specifically around your hormones, stress, sleep, and nutrition, one that's actually realistic for your life. From there, you can book follow-up sessions whenever you need them to stay on track, get accountability, overcome obstacles, or simply have someone cheering you on along the way. There's no pressure, no long-term contract, and no need to repeat the initial consult. Once you've completed that first session, you're my client for life, and we'll keep in touch in between your sessions. This flexible approach is built for real midlife women who want to experience guidance, science-based strategies, and compassionate support that evolves with them. If you're ready to take the first step, visit womenmasteringmidlife.com to book your free 15-minute discovery call. Let's talk about your goals and map out your next steps toward feeling vibrant, confident, and in control of your health again. If we go back to looking at midlife women, you said at one point that you can look at a woman's body type and you see like they might have weight around the midsection. We talked a bit about it, but what's your perspective when you see that weight in the midsection, and how do you address that concern?
Yes. So obviously every time you see a woman with that roll on top, we know that adrenals are tired. So the cortisol either too high or too low. So we need to manage her cortisol. So it's specific ways to do this. We need to understand, is the cortisol too high at night, or is it very high in the morning, or maybe it's vice versa. Naturally, cortisol should be highest in the morning and sloping down at the evening before you go to sleep. Sometimes what I see in my patients, at night, the cortisol at highest, and then during the day, it's the lowest. It's vice versa. So we need to find out what are they doing that's doing this. And lots of times now, since we have electronics, everything has shifted. How we're sleeping is shifted. How much light we get in our faces is shifted. We are on the computers. We open the screen. It's a blue light. It's right in your face. So now we don't have proper production of hormones, melatonin and serotonin. So ideally, when we wake up, right, at night, we slept, in the morning we open the eyes, and this is a sun that's coming through the window will stimulate serotonin release. It's natural. When you're going to sleep, because there's sun down and it's dark, now you're releasing melatonin. Think about it. Most people, any woman, most of the women in mid-age, already in business, very active. Children, if she has them, they're already very active in high school, maybe not. Or maybe some women now want to have babies. Now they're ready to make these babies. Now, what do we do? So a lot of women work at night. It's very rarely you find a woman that goes to sleep when there's sun goes down. Who does that now? Nobody.
I don't know.
So we shift everything. We shift everything. We forget about natural physiology. We want to do what works because everybody now more or less in survival mode. We're working. A lot of time people work more than one job. For lots of women, there are businesses. So people are very busy. And lots of times people have phones and they're in their bed and they're looking at the screen. So this natural state of melatonin, serotonin gets broken. And now we're altering our entire physiology. So we need to understand, how are these people sleeping? Are they even able to sleep? And lots of people like that, they're insomniac. That's what causes stress. They don't sleep, they can't fall asleep, and cortisol skyrockets. Skyrocketed cortisol. This is what happens. Cortisol is released from adrenal glands. Yes, adrenals can release cortisol as a response to stress. Ideally, we should respond to stress and then it should regulate. If the stressor is prolonged, for example, if somebody is going through, I do not know, life-changing event. Menopause is one of them. Maybe it's divorce. problem in a business, it gets shifted and it doesn't go back to normal. And this person never gets retrained of how to still sleep properly or fall asleep. Eventually, adrenals get tired. There is no more cortisol to release. And now, because it's worn out, everything is used, right? So every organ that we have, it really has expiration date. People think like you have this cortisol release and you're going to release it for your entire life. No. If a woman is chronically ill, has virus or bacteria that constantly messing up the system, like EBV, for example, Epstein-Barr virus that never got treated and always in the system, other viruses or bacteria, they cause stress too. We talk about stress, exogenous and endogenous. So exogenous stress is from whatever is outside. Endogenous, it could be our physiological changes plus whatever else we already have in our system. By mid-age, we already have chronic viruses, chronic bacteria. All of this wears it out. So when your adrenals worn out, no more cortisol to release, and then I find these women and adrenal fatigue. When they are fatigued, that they can then function now. So in order to get them better, we have to replenish and it's basically adrenal CPR. But then again, adrenals are not working by themselves. There's also communication with thyroid and the brain. When adrenals are done, then it's also thyroid is done. There's also communication with the brain, then we need to recommunicate. So it's very interesting and intricate system. And giving a Band-Aid really doesn't do justice to anybody. So if we know somebody's cortisol is already elevated, we need to figure out a way, how do we reduce it? One thing to do, teach this person to sleep at night already will reduce cortisol. Anybody who has high cortisol will have this fat around the belly, also will have insulin resistant. So what is insulin resistance? Is when the body no longer recognizes its own insulin that's released to utilization. So pancreas still releasing insulin. Let's say 5 units is norm, but when I do blood work, it could be 25. So it's 5 times more. Mm-hmm. That's cortisol, right? You want to reduce this? Reduce cortisol. Next question, are you sleeping at night? A lot of patients of mine in business, I work at night. My answer is right away. If you can't change one thing I'm asking you to change, to sleep at night, I cannot help you. Because we need to put your body in a place where it can heal. So you can heal at night, you can sleep, be changing your circadian rhythm where it should be, right? Melatonin and serotonin released appropriately. So melatonin at night, serotonin in the morning. And you're releasing growth hormone because growth hormone also released at night. So if you don't sleep, think about it. Children, newborn babies, they sleep all the time.
Yeah.
Why do they sleep? They sleep all the time so they can grow because the release of growth hormone is at night. Mm-hmm. Even teenage kids, they sleep a lot. They sleep to 14 hours per day. Sometimes women say, he's lazy, he's sleeping all the time. The person is not lazy. It's a physiological need for growth because this is when they grow the fastest, for boys especially. Girls stop growing at about age 18, but the boys, they grow until 21. So if they feel tired, you should allow them to sleep. And again, what are they doing at night? Are they sleeping or then playing computer games? All of that makes big sense. And again, not sleeping at night, if they can't change one thing to sleep at night, a lot of things you will do, you're still going to have a hard time because they still going to loop through the same thing. And a lot of time takes for me and my team to educate patients. How can we reset that balance? And we talk to them, we educate, we give them material. Let's retrain you. Let's give you something that will teach you in your system again, how can you sleep? How can you fall asleep? And there are all different things we use. Epsom salt baths, turning on off computers and telephones 2 to 3 hours before, dimming the lights, nothing excitatory. And within 3 weeks, they're sleeping. If they need a little aid, I give them herbs. Whatever needs to happen for them to sleep. If this is not changed, changes are not evident. You can do whatever else you want with them, and they're still going to be going through the same thing. This first thing that really costs nothing, that any one of us can change, should be changed first.
And that makes total sense. I always told my kids when they were little, you grow when you sleep. So that's what I would tell them when they would go to bed. You grow when you sleep, so go to bed. Go to bed.
Yeah, they need to sleep. They need to sleep a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. My 16-year-old is 5'10". She did a lot of sleeping.
Ooh, wow, she's tall. Good for her.
She was a good sleeper when she was younger, definitely. But I'm 5'1", so clearly I had problems with my sleeping. So when you talked about microdosing for a little bit. So if we've gone through, you have a patient, you've worked on their sleep foundations, and you've got the nutrition lined in, and you've decided that a GLP-1 would help them. You talked about microdosing, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that, because I think that is a really important idea that people aren't. More isn't always better. And so could you touch on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. To me, less is more all the time. So this is what I find the sweet spot. So we start at specific dose. It's insulin syringe. I will be saying in units, but people need to understand that every bottle of Ozempic or Wegovy they get, it's very specific measure. So what I'm saying in units means absolutely nothing. Okay, so they're not taking this as for reference. For example, patient comes and we did everything and we still think this is going to be beneficial for them, absolutely, if there's indicated. So we're going to take 5 units. Let's say the standard dose is 5 units first week. Second week, standard dose, how everybody's doing it, it's double of that. It's 10 units. Third week, it's still 10 units, and then it should be accumulating like double every 2 to 3 weeks. You see? So that this vial is only used within 5 weeks. I use it in a way it's still beneficial for people, but people can use the first vial about 2.5 months. So how do we do this? So we still start with 5 units. Next week, patients weigh themselves, and if they have a weight loss, they remain on 5 units. So they continuously, once a week, they weigh themselves. When weight loss is no longer evident, like basically they did the first 2 weeks, they lost weight, and third week, there is no longer weight loss, they will increase by 2 unit increment, 2 units. So, and we slowly, every week, going to be increasing by 2 to 3 units until we catch the time when they're losing weight again. And we're going to hold them at that point until there's no longer weight loss. You see, it's like small step approach. I don't want to hop over and, what are we chasing? Most of the practitioners I spoke with told me, well, we want to give our patients good results, so we want to build them on it much faster so they lose weight. But again, physiological weight loss is 2 pounds per week. Mm-hmm. When we have these proper adjustments, we do not want to be 4 to 8 pounds per week. It's stressful for the body. It's going to cause cortisol increase. It's going to cause specific issues. We don't want to do that. So it takes a lot of time to educate patients. We want sustainable results. What is sustainable? When we go taking body through journey of healing and weight loss, for example, faster the results, lesser you can hold them on. You know that because there is specific loop into the system in the brain where it takes a certain time for the brain to rewire. When you're jumping through hoops too quickly, as soon as they stop or reduce the dose, everything comes back plus 10, 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. So when I do it with my patients, if I do it, it's very specific way. And usually GLP-1s are not the first product I use. It's not. I need to understand what's happening. If I see they're really deficient, let's overcome the deficits. Let's give them specific nutrition. If they're most of the time now people vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
It's a building block. So let's give it. Vitamins B deficient. Let's do it. Now I have lots of women in mid-age who are ready to have babies. And again, they come to IVF clinic. They try IVF and they fail, they're upset, and what's to do? They come back to me and I educate them. It's like your life. Reproductive cycle is very specific cycle where, of course, it's life. Everybody is busy. You spent your time in business, which is very understandable. Now you're ready for reproduction where you're already worn out. Mm-hmm. So if you want different outcome, We need to now correct the issues that you accumulated and make sure you have enough energy for reproduction. I had beautiful patients. Let me share this with you. She's lovely. When she came to me, she was already 43. So she wanted a child. She already had children, and then she tried and no longer happened, and she wanted a child. And we worked with her, and she had polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, you name it, she had it. And we regulated more or less everything, and she's still not getting pregnant. And she's like, well, Dr. Yuabova, what do you think? What if I gonna start taking Ozempic? Because they're the thing now, Ozempic babies.
Okay.
To me, I was like, you know what? I would disagree. Let's not. I understand why women get pregnant on Ozempic, because there is no longer insulin resistance, and these women who didn't ovulate on regular basis, now they're ovulating more regularly. And I said, you know what? Let's wait for 3 more months, because we don't know the research is not there yet. Ozempic is new. So we do not know what this medication, or you being on this medication, how it's going to affect physiology of the fetus on the long term. Like, we don't know this. Do you want to risk this? I absolutely not with it. I'm against of it. And I told her, and she was no longer insulin resistant by the time she was already ready to conceive. And I told her, you're no longer insulin resistant. We fixed everything. We just need to now wait until your body does a job. And within 3 months, she got pregnant. The baby was already, 9 months? People need to be patient.
Yeah.
And again, going back to base, like, what do we need to fix? If GLP-1 necessary, absolutely, if it's necessary, because it reduces cardiovascular risks for right people, right? For right people. Not for everybody. Now people are chasing, and everybody's like, every clinic, and they don't even do proper history and physical for patients. Give here and there. It is honestly great medication, but the way it's used, it's not really appropriate.
Yeah, well, and a lot of I've seen a lot of, not all practitioners, but I've seen practitioners who don't have the training and the education in how to take care of a patient properly when they're giving it. And so that's a little frightening too.
It's every person, and again, if we're speaking about educated consumer, they need to be educated. Self-education, like, it doesn't cost you anything. Go online, look what people are saying, join groups, listen. Information is free. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. So now we are speaking, and I already shared so much of even how I do it. If somebody is interested, can learn, can use that approach. Safe, almost no adverse effects. And again, you should never forget, it's one of the peptides that sits in the system active for 7 days. Most of the peptides I use, they don't have such a long lasting effect, and we don't need. All we need is a signal, like 2-3 minutes, and it turns off. This 2 to 3 minutes is more than enough to have a lasting effect. Like, for example, growth hormone secretagogues, sermorelin, ipamorelin, CGC1295, they work only for a few minutes. But that signal is enough to do the job. Done.
That's really interesting. And I think talking about being self-educated, being a patient that's educated is important. I've always talked to my clients, and on this show, we talk a lot about becoming an advocate for yourself and understanding, because there's a lot of information out there. There are very well-trained physicians and care providers, and then there are some who don't have all the education or tools at their disposal yet. And so being your own advocate is a really important thing, and understanding what you're going in and asking for. And I feel like with the peptides, there hasn't been, from what I've experienced with women, there's not a lot of self-educating that happens first. Understanding what the ramifications or the adverse events that could take place, what the proper dosing looks like. I think that those are things that everyone who is interested should be looking at before they approach a physician or another provider for it.
Definitely. And anybody who's looking for a provider should find a provider they resonate with, provider that could hear what they desire and what the outcome is patient looking for. And again, be careful with providers that are promised too much. It's not about promising, it's about delivery. Okay? If somebody comes and they're very complex, and I'm very honest with my patients, I tell them, it's like, your issue is so complex. You build this problem for over a decade. So in order to fix this, it's going to take time. I need to make sure they understand it. And if somebody wants quick fix, it's not available. It just doesn't exist. The body that has been falling apart for such a long period of time, like putting it back together takes time. It takes effort. It takes expertise. It takes TLC. I don't do it by myself. I have a team that supports me. And again, the care is very different and delivered differently. We have programs that we offer for patients that at length of starting 6 months to a year. I have patients that are coming with Lyme's disease. I have people who come with all different fertility problem, male and female. They're all different. It's a lot of different conditions. And what makes me different, because I understand physiology as a whole. So how can we improve an outcome addressing everything at the same time as much as it possible without overwhelming the system? Because if they don't absorb nutrition, with somebody in midlife, they're already worn out and they already have certain conditions such as H. pylori, for example, irritable bowel syndrome. Everything's already so worn out and so inflamed. How do you deliver nutrients so they're actually utilizing them? You can give them all you want. Are they getting it? Are they getting the nutrition? Or it's just going into the toilet? So that is a big talk. I always speak to my patients. It's like, we're going to have to find a way to give you this nutrition so you utilize it. In pill form, I rarely use it. I use more powders, the liquids. They inject some things. Peptides are injectable. I love injectable peptides. I know they work. And I know that my patient's not going to make mistake, because if you take a peptide orally and you eat, then you turn it off. Peptides are wonderful and they're expensive. So the way we use them, that's why patients need to be educated so they understand the value.
Yeah.
It's very specific. This work is very specific. And while we have them under our care for 6 months, it's just the beginning. It's dietary modification. Everybody else's diet gets changed. There's no Google dieting. There's no one formula fits all. Everybody's different and everybody in a specific diet for them to reduce that inflammation, because, everything comes down to inflammation. You're deficient in nutrients, you're going to be inflamed. If you don't detoxify, you're going to be inflamed. And again, they're talking about people who are mid-age. So, they're already there, because first part of their life already done. They already done it. So now we are right in the middle so we know whatever that took them or brought them to needs to be supported and regulated so they can have better life. We always talk about a future. What future without now? Past is gone.
Yeah. So when we talked about a lot of women come for a peptide for weight loss, but there's also taking care of someone's metabolism. And what are some things that you've seen with patients in terms of metabolism, and how do you approach that? There's the broken metabolism, I'm using air quotes, that people believe in it. And so how do you approach that aspect of their health and their nutrition
Sure,
plan?
absolutely. Firstly, we need to understand what goes into metabolism. What controls metabolism? Number one, what controls metabolism, again, our hormones, and the biggest controller of metabolic state, the thyroid. Most of the women, thyroid doesn't work. Every third woman has autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's every third woman.
That's crazy.
So that's statistics, right? So how do we get them to turning their metabolism on? Looking at function of the thyroid and function of adrenal glands. So signaling from the brain for thyroid to adrenal glands. Does communication works or not? What is the problem with communication, right? Again, we're going back to basics. Is there no communication because there is no nutrition, which is a lot of times it's no nutrition, it's primary hypothyroidism, or the problem is immune system, right? So which one is it? So if it's primary, it's not difficult. You give them nutrition, you give them everything that's necessary for proper function of thyroid, and metabolism restores. The other one, where the people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, ANAs, and lupus and all that, that is a problem. It's not thyroid itself. its immune system. It's a bigger problem because now we need to understand what triggered your immune system to turn to the state of hyperactivity. And now doing this to specific organs, can we save the organ? Can we adjust the activity of metabolism or turning off autoimmune regulated, overregulated system so we can save the thyroid? And how do we do this? And what do we give them? So everybody is different. Of course, I use replacement therapy for thyroid because for people with autoimmune condition, thyroid is already done. It's cooked, it's burnt. There's not much tissue. It's not much tissue that could be saved. And then a lot of times patients come on Synthroid. Synthroid is medication, it's very specific medication, and it's widely used medication that has only active ingredient T4. So let me explain that. For audience, it will be very interesting for them. So thyroid, it's a gland that releases two hormones, T3, T4. T4, that's ineffective, but we create most of it. It's 84 to 87%. The rest of it is T3, which is active. So in order to have more active, like to activate T4 into T3, we need working guts and working liver. Everybody has a gut problem. And most people have the liver problem, you see? So without addressing the gut health by itself, that's not gonna change. So we're gonna have to address guts. The gut is a system, right? Starts in the mouth and ends with the rectum. How do we do that? Supplementation, reduce inflammation by eradicating what causes inflammation, give nutrition, healing the lining, because lining now eaten through. A lot of times I see patients have parasites. So where are these parasites? It could be everywhere. They could be in the brain, they could be in lungs, they could be in guts, they could be in liver, they could be anywhere. There is no limit where they go, and they damage the lining. People say, well, I go to the bathroom, there is no. Most people don't even look what comes out, sadly.
Yeah.
But it's important to know what you put in, what came out. It's so important. I ask them, how does it look? How does it smell? What's the color? Even from asking these questions, you already understand what's happening. Me asking them one question about how often do you empty your bowel, you should see their eyes go up because nobody asked that question.
Yeah.
Why? Like, it's necessary to understand the physiology. What is transition time? Why am I talking about this? Because transition time affected by function of thyroid. So if somebody is constipated, goes to the bathroom once every 3 days, of course I think there's thyroid problem. Yes, you might be deficient in magnesium and other things, but it's definitely thyroid. That's why people with hyperactive thyroid, they're constantly in the bathroom 5-6 times a day.
Yeah.
So in order to change that, like we're talking about metabolism, it's entire system in effect. You see, it's gut health, it's endocrine health, it's a lot that people not understanding. It's so much work. But again, we do everything seamlessly and at the same time, so it's doable. I have patients that want to become parents. It's not the problem. I have people that are in business, CEOs of the company. They're busy, so you have to create a program that they can follow. There are some women that it's stay-home moms with children. They have children and husband they have to cater to. Again, the program should be doable, and we do our best so people can follow. And beginning is challenging because there's lots of changes, but again, we have to restore this balance. Everything is about balance and restoration. Once we do this, everything is escape. And results are so long-lasting. We also educate our patients. We have a patient education platform. So when they start care with us, we give them access and they watch educational materials being presented to me. I have recorded and they just play about everything. So they understand it. Like we are now speaking and whoever audience is going to be listening so they can get educated. There are PowerPoint presentations with pictures so they understand physiology, the way it actually works. So they know there are no shortcuts.
Yeah. So we're getting close to being out of time for today. So there's a couple things I wanted to touch on before we go. So how do women, when we're talking about understanding and getting information and being educated, you mentioned that you have tutorials for your patients on websites. How do women how can they discern between media or information that they don't necessarily that they shouldn't be looking at, or things that wouldn't really provide them the correct information, taking down the hype and the marketing and finding really good, solid information?
This is very challenging at our times because we're very affected by marketing. And don't forget the marketing, when marketing happens, everything, even human psychology is taking an effect. So when somebody marketing something, it's presented in such a way so people swallow. So don't forget, not everything that's shiny really worth it. You have so much information around. Dig for it. It's available. So everybody's using ChatGPT now, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to educate everybody who's listening how to use ChatGPT for real answers. Instead of asking what's positive effect of medication and what has been published positive, ask for negative effects. That's how you will know the true data. And again, ask what has been researched and published. It's a shortcut, honestly. Ask right question and you'll get all the answers that's already has been worked through and published and evidence-based and everything. People need to use their power of finding these true answers. And again, GLP-1s are new. They're not on the market for 20 years. They're not. So, and again, using something that is so short-lived and thinking there will be no problems 20 years from now, who can guarantee that? We already know there are problems. People are already reporting blindness, muscle loss, women become perimenopausal much earlier. Why? People don't understand. If you're deficient in nutrition and now you're not eating and now you're exercising, you see, it's misinterpretation of information. Then you are not, because you're deficient and now becoming more deficient. Yes, you're losing weight, you look pretty, but then your production of estrogen, progesterone, it's going to release, it's going to reduce, because for your body's job is to make sure you are alive. So reproduction will be halted. It's not important. Who cares? As long as you are alive. So reproduction turns off. And now these women come, oh my goodness, they're 35 years old, menopausal.
Wow. Yeah.
Ovarian failure. It's crazy. I have some patients from GLP and some patients, and I've never took GLP-1s that have these problems. That's just what's happening right now. It's amazing. And again, all of this is reversible. But to be educated and properly educated, it's on them, it's on a patient. And again, speaking to a provider, understanding the backgrounds, understanding how this provider understands the physiology, because the way I explain it to you, I'm sure not many times you heard this, it's very different. My understanding of the way body works, of course I went to school and we've been taught, and again, very fractional. This is like this, and this is like this, and this is like this, and there's no communication. But they are one system. So if you're not looking at the system as a whole, even belief system will change the outcome. A patient's belief system. So we need to understand what's their belief system. They desire for appropriate outcome. That's going to change it. And I ask my patients, from 0 to 10, how much do you want this change to happen? I have women that come with husbands. Now, fertility is a big problem now. 50-50, male and female. How bad do you want this outcome? You want this baby? And if I hear any hesitation for a second, I know they have underlying, it's either trauma or something else. So we have to address it. And I tell them, listen, I think you're going to benefit from maybe psychologist or maybe hypnotherapist. We're not going to start this until this is addressed. Because we are a very complex system. We have conscious and subconscious. We have all of these beliefs and, what's good, what's not good, whatever we were brought up with, all of these different things. So everything should be taken into consideration.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to have any more information about your clinic or you as a provider, could you let the audience know where they can find you?
Sure, absolutely. I'm available. I'm not hiding. So the website is nationalwellnessgroup.com. I also have a different website for women who want to grow their family. It's roadtofertility.com. Phone number is 1-561-781-8888. There.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll put everything for everyone in the show notes so they can click the links and find you and be able to see your clinic. So thank you so very much for coming on today and talking with me about peptides and your approach to them and helping. Hopefully we can give women who are listening a little bit more of a broader understanding of them and a better approach to using them. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Victoria. It was my pleasure being with you. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Women Mastering Midlife. If something you heard today resonated, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it with a friend who might need a little extra support on her midlife journey. Remember, small changes can make a big difference, and you don't have to navigate this transition alone. We will be back next week with more expert guidance and compassionate conversations to help empower you to master midlife on your terms. Until then, you can find us on Instagram at Women Mastering Midlife or come connect with me directly at Miss Victoria Bird. And you're looking for deeper connection and support, be sure to join us in the Women Mastering Midlife community. We'd love to continue the conversation with you there. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and review this podcast. It helps us reach more amazing women mastering midlife just like you. You'll find all the links from today's episode and ways to connect in the show notes below. See you next time.